You ever have one of those days where you wake up and realize your worst nightmare isn't some wild dream, it's your actual HOA? Yeah, that happened. One morning I found out the HOA called the cops on me all because I wouldn't hand over my garage key. Their reason? Supposedly I was hiding hazardous materials. The real punchline: the only thing I was guilty of was catching their break-in on camera and pressing play for the entire neighborhood to see. Let me back up a sec. Name's Ben Carter. Finnish carpenter by trade, which mostly means I like my corners square, my lines plumb, and my life a little quieter than most. For years I didn't have much of that peace, but when I finally bought my place in Meadow Ridge Estates, a neighborhood that promised quiet with a side of identical lawns, I thought I'd made it. My house is nothing special, a gray box like all the others, but it came with a 2-car garage. That's what sold me. To me, a garage isn't just a place for cars. It's a workshop, a hideout, a little slice of sanctuary. Inside, I kept 2 treasures. First, a 1968 Triumph Bonneville in candy apple blue, my granddad's bike. He left it to me, and it's more than metal and rubber, it's a promise. The second was a safe. Big old heavy as guilt itself. I snagged it at a storage auction because what can I say, I'm a sucker for a good mystery. 4 grown men and a whole lot of cursing later, that beast was parked in the corner of my garage. Never got around to opening it, figured I'd get there eventually. And for 1 week, life was good. Then came the letter of the first HOA love note. Invitation to a mandatory meeting. I'd met the HOA president, Karen Moore, once. She had that look that says, I know what's best for you, and you're going to like it or else. The meeting was held in the community clubhouse, a place that smelled like burnt coffee and regret. Karen smiled her way through a speech on curb appeal until even the plastic plants looked suicidal, then dropped her real agenda, a new safety initiative. Every homeowner now had to hand over a garage key. For emergencies, she claimed. You ever feel a room go cold? That's what happened. No one wanted to be the first to push back. But I build doors for a living, and I lock them for a reason. So I raised my hand. Karen called on me, her smile tight as a wrench. Yeah, I'm not doing that, I said. The room froze. Karen tried to lay on the sugar, but her words tasted like vinegar. It's for the fire department, she said. They have axes, I replied. Got a couple laughs with that one. Karen's boyfriend, Brandon, who always looks like he's about to sell you a fake Rolex, puffed up and tried to muscle me. It's for your protection, he said. I just told him, no thanks, I'll protect myself. Karen didn't skip a beat. Refusal means fines. If we believe you're hiding violations, we will take action. She looked straight at me, not the room. That wasn't a rule, it was a threat. But I just nodded and walked out. I knew it wasn't about safety, not really. It was about control. The next morning, my garage door sported a $50 fine and a handwritten, "This is your only warning." I peeled it off and threw it in the recycling. My house, my rules. I spent that day wrenching on the Bonneville, thinking about my granddad and the lessons he left me. Never let a bully push you around. That garage wasn't just mine, it was a promise kept. But the drama wasn't done. Sun out, birds singing. I roll open the garage door and there's Karen watching from her porch phone, glued to her ear, grinning like she's about to call in an airstrike. Sure enough, 20 minutes later, a police cruiser rolls up. Sergeant Deeks, a mountain of a man, looked like he'd seen everything, steps out. Karen and Brandon trail over all drama and accusations. He's storing hazardous materials. He's hiding violations. Deeks sizes me up, glances at my open toolbox, asks me for the house deed and bike registration, checks everything, all business. He turns to Karen and says, "Ma'am, this is a civil matter, not a police one. The rules don't override the law." He gives her a warning about wasting police time, tells her not to call again unless there's a real emergency. You should have seen Karen's face, furious, humiliated. Brandon wilted faster than supermarket spinach. You'd think that would be the end, but nah. Not with an HOA. Next, Todd from compliance rolls up in his little golf cart with Brandon tagging along, clipboard in hand, demanding a random inspection. I told him, "Sure you got a warrant?" He tried the usual HOA tough talk. I just started up my granddad's Triumph, let it idle, supervised just like he asked. Paul Kim, my neighbor across the street, watched the whole thing mug in hand, silent but supportive. The compliance guys left with nothing but blue chalk on their faces, figuratively at least. But I knew the war wasn't over. That night around 2 a.m., I'm jolted awake by a grinding noise. Pull up my security camera feed, and sure enough, two figures in my garage, Brandon and some gorilla I didn't recognize, drilling into my safe. My blood ran cold. For a split second, I wanted to charge out and deal with them myself, but Granddad's voice echoed in my head. "Don't start a fight, Benny, but always finish it smart." So I got clever. See, I'd tinkered with the sprinkler heads by the garage, added a little filter packed with blue chalk dust, the kind carpenters use. Harmless, but it stains for hours. I hit the remote for my phone. The sprinklers blast those idiots with blue chalk slurry. They come stumbling out looking like Smurfs after a paintball war, slipping and flailing all over the porch. The whole thing recorded in glorious HD. Next morning, I didn't bother cleaning up. Let the blue dust tell the story. Called Sergeant Deeks, showed him the footage, gave him coffee and the whole tale. He watched it all slow and silent, then let out a little laugh. "Chalk dust harmless, but effective," I said. "And good for the camera." We both knew this was big attempted burglary fraud, the works. Deeks gets a search warrant for the safe, brings a locksmith, and we crack it open with the whole show recorded by body cams. What do we find? Cash. Piles of it. Fake IDs, passports, and a ledger. Brandon Cole's name all over it with payments for HOA projects that were never done, pool drainage, clubhouse roof. All the stuff Karen swore was fixed. It was all there, a paper trail of stolen money right down to the penny. Sergeant Deeks said it best. "Mr. Carter, you just blew this whole thing wide open." But Karen and Brandon didn't know what we found. Next morning, a tow truck and a forklift show up in my driveway with a fake work order from the HOA to confiscate the safe. Only thing standing between them and their prize, Paul Kim and his 10-ton backhoe. Paul parked that beast right in front of my garage, arms crossed, and said, "You want it. Move me." The crew took one look, shook their heads, and bailed. Karen called screaming through the phone. Paul just laid on the horn and grinned. After that, the neighborhood buzzed. People started asking questions, started watching. The next day, a freak thunderstorm hit streets, flooded storm drains, overwhelmed. I saw a little boy and his dog trapped by the rising water, ran out and pulled them both to safety. The whole mess direct result of the HOA's fixed drains, the very project Karen and Brandon had siphoned money from. That rescue changed things. Lisa Truman, a quiet board member, finally had enough. She showed up on my porch with a stack of HOA minutes and bank statements she'd copied in secret. Together we built a case, videos, documents, receipts showing every dollar that disappeared, every project that was never finished. We canvassed the neighborhood, tablet in hand, asking folks to sign a recall petition. At first people were scared. Karen ruled with fear and fines, but facts do the yelling, and the blue chalk video was a crowd pleaser. Moms, dads, even the cat lady signed on. The turning point, Leo's mom, whose son I pulled from the flood, signed, then got the other mothers on board. We didn't just get the 25 signatures needed. We got 33. HOA meeting night, standing room only. Karen tried to stall, but the petition forced a vote. I got up, ran through the evidence, the flooded street, the bogus 911 call, Deeks's body cam, the burglary footage, the ledger. By the time I finished, the room was silent except for Brandon trying to shrink through his chair. Karen tried one last time, blaming me, saying it was all about safety. That's when I pulled out my garage key, held it up, and said, "How about we swap my garage key for your front door key? Fair is fair, right?" The room erupted, laughter, cheers. The whole works. The vote was a landslide. Karen's reign ended right there. Sergeant Deke stood up, walked straight to the stage, and arrested Karen and Brandon in front of everyone. Handcuffs snapped. Game over. The aftermath. Quiet, healing relief. Lisa took over as interim president, called an emergency meeting, killed the safety initiative, apologized, posted open financials, and hired real contractors. Paul led the crew. We dug new drains, poured fresh concrete, fixed what should have been fixed all along. Kids drew blue chalk cartoons of Brandon on the curb, legend in the making. And me. I finally opened the garage, rolled out my granddad's bike, sun on my back, neighbors waving as I fired it up. Freedom never sounded so sweet. Sometimes a man just wants to fix his own motorcycle in peace. But if you want to keep your castle sometimes, you gotta fight for the whole village. You know what I mean? So here's my question for you. If you were in my shoes, would you have given up your key or would you have stood your ground? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell me where you're watching from and share your own crazy HOA stories. Because sometimes justice isn't just about the rules, it's about standing up even when your hands are covered in blue chalk and grease.